Hi, students. Welcome to your Lesson 10 learning lesson for today. So, this is our day 10 into our Unit 3 poetry unit. So, I hope that you've been enjoying these different journeys through poetry and learning all these different elements and aspects it has to the unit of poetry, right? So today, as we go into our reading, we're going to be able to identify parallel structures, so structures that are the same in poetry, and also be able to analyze and using compare and contrast. And we know what those two words means. Compare and contrast, right? So we're going to be able to compare and contrast the scenes in our poem today. And our poem's title today is Strange Patterns, right? So isn't that cool that we're going to be identifying structures and we're dealing with patterns? So I don't know, for some reason, it just seems really cool that they go side by side. So let's continue to go on into our lesson. And the first thing that we always touch on before we even go into our lesson is our core vocabulary and our literary vocabulary. So today we only have one core vocabulary word, and that is arbor. It is a structure used for supporting vines, which went around the arbor as they grow. So it's a structure that helps again to support to hold up those vines and things like that. Our next word is scuppernongs. It is a large grape found in the southeastern United States. So those sound really good. I love grapes. So these are large grapes that are found in southeastern United States. Okay, now we have our literary vocabulary. And our literary vocabulary word today is parallel structure. And this means when the same form is repeated in a series of lines or stanzas. Poets often use parallel structure to demonstrate that they are linking two ideas or descriptions. So this is great. So they use most of the time they're saying they use parallel structure to use that compare and contrast and to see how things are alike or different. Okay, so then also, besides our literary and core vocabulary word, before we go into our poem, we always like to have some background knowledge on the poet, the author of the poem. Okay, so her name is Carrie Ann McCrae, the author of this poem today. And a strange patterns. And she was born in 1913, so that was a while back. And she was the ninth of 10 children. Um, she was she was very, very aware of her environment. She talks about how it was threats of neighbors and happy to have a black family in her white neighborhood, and that she was also surrounded by poetry at a young age. So she wrote different books. So you can just take the time and always take the time to read about the poet section in your poetry journals, just so that we continue to know about our poet and have that background knowledge before we dive into our poem. So now we're ready to read our poem, boys and girls. So let's begin on that. Okay, Strange Patterns by Carrie Allen McCrae. When I was a young child in Lynchburg, Virginia, I could not ride the trolley car sitting next to our white neighbor, but could sit nestled close to her under her grape arbor, swinging my feet, eating her supper nogs, and drinking tall, cold glasses of lemonade she offered us on hot, dry summer days. When I was a younger child moving to Montclair, New Jersey, I could not ride the trolley car and sitting next to our white neighbor, but did not dare cross the bitter line that separated our house from hers. And she never offered us tall, cold glasses of lemonade she offered us on hot summer days. Okay, so boys and girls, let's take a minute and think about that poem and what you thought it meant.